Alright, in 8.2, we're talking about joint and inverse variation. And if you look at number 1, it says y varies inversely as x. Let's stop there for just a second. What does that mean? That means that instead of y equal kx, like we had for direct variation, if it varies inversely, that means you're going to put the x in the denominator, and then your constant is still just k. You could look at it as k times 1 over x, but we usually write k over x, and you just write the k in the numerator, okay? So now we can solve these with proportions. There were some things last time we also couldn't solve with proportions in the problems for 8.1. And so we have a similar situation here, but what we do is we find k, and then we can answer this question. I really don't know the exact equation yet. If I could find the k, I would have the exact equation. So they tell me that y is 3, so let's plug that in. We want to figure out what k is, so we'll write it down, when x is 6. Now, there is an aspect here that we can use. We can use proportions a little bit here, because to solve for k, I could cross multiply. If I make the 3 a 3 over 1, I can make it a fraction since the right side's a fraction. And then 1 times k is k, and 3 times 6 is 18. So now we know what k is, so we can write the equation. It's really 18 over x, or 18 divided by x. If I want to find x when y is 18, well, all I have to do is say, well, okay, I'm going to plug in y is 18 into this new equation. 18 is equal to 18 divided by x. Now, you may realize the answer is going to be 1. If that didn't occur to you, go ahead and say, well, I can solve for x. This is a fraction. Let me make this one a fraction and cross multiply. 1 times 18 is 18, and then 18 times x is 18x, and then if you divided both sides by 18, you'd see that x equal 1. So this is what you're going to have to do on these. You can't really use proportions to solve them like we sometimes could with direct variation or varies directly problems. But we can write our equation down, plug in the information, and solve for the missing k, and then find another value that way. Okay, so for number 3, we need to see what kind of equation we need. We see that w is inversely proportional to the square of v. So you write w means equal. Inversely proportion means that we're going to have a k on top, but what we're proportional to is going to go in the denominator, and it's the square of v. Okay, so we're going to put v squared here. Now, if we knew what k is, we could answer the question, without having much trouble. And we don't know it, but we can find it because we get a set of information. The set of information they give is that w is 3 when v is 6. So we're going to plug that in. W is 3 when v is 6. So that's going to be 6 squared. So 3 is equal to k over 36. Now, just like I did in the previous problem, if I want to solve for k, you can solve another way, but I like to make proportions because they're so fast to solve. Since I have a fraction on one side, I'll make a fraction on the left side by putting 3 over 1. 1 times k is k, and 3 times 36 is going to be 108. So k is 108. That means my equation is really w equals 108 because k is 108 over v squared. So if I want to find w when v is 3, all I have to do is plug in v is 3 now. Well, we know that 3 squared is going to be 9. So 108 divided by 9 is going to be 12, I believe. Nope, let's see. This is number 3. Yeah, it is 12. Okay. 108 divided by 9 is 12. And so we've answered that question. Okay, number 5, we need to kind of figure out what kind of equation we're dealing with. We see that z is jointly proportional. That means that z means equal. Jointly proportional means we're going to have a constant of variation. And instead of just having one variable over here, we're going to have 2. We're going to put k times x times y. Okay? There was no mention of inverse here, so I don't need to worry about a denominator. Alright, so now if I could find k, I'd have my exact equation, and I can find it because they gave me some numbers to plug in. They tell me z is 18 when x is 0.4 and y is 3. So let's plug all that in. I'm trying to make sure I got all the numbers right. Just a second. Yep. Z is 18. We need to find k. We know that x is 0.4 and y is 3. Okay, so it's 0.4. So 0.4 times 3 would be 1.2 times k. So if we can find k now, we can divide both sides by 1.2. And we're going to get 18 divided by 1.2. Calculator, I'm coming up with 15. So my real equation is z equal 15 times x times y. Now they want me to find the missing value. They want me to find z when x is 1.2 and y is 2. Okay, so z equal 15, x is 1.2, and y is 2. So let me just plug all that in my calculator. You do the math too in your calculator. Don't just copy it off the video. You get z is 36. And that's all you have to do. Really, you're just making an equation. There's always going to be a k. Use the k's in the denominator, in the numerator. And then you have, if it says jointly proportional, you're putting your variables in the numerator. If it says inversely proportional, you're going to put those variables in the denominator. Okay, so if we look at number 7, it says S varies directly. Okay, so I kind of color-coded this one. In black, I wrote the thing that's going to help us determine our equation. It says S, again, not a 5, but a S, varies directly. Let me put it equal, and I'm going to put a K. And varies directly means that the next variable is going to go on top, R. But then look, it says and inversely ST. Inversely means you're going to put that T in the denominator. So this is our little equation. And we need to find out what K is, and then we can actually answer the question they ask us. Now, in blue, I wrote a set of information that they gave us. S is 10, so let's plug that in. We know we got to figure out the K, so I'm going to write it down. R is 5, so K times 5, I could have written that 5K. And T is 3. Okay? Now, I can't solve this with a proportion, but I can use a proportion to solve for K anyway. 10 times 3 is 30. We multiply this diagonal that I circled in red, and I'll circle in green the other one. 1 times K5 or 5K is just going to be 5K. We can easily see that K is going to be 6 if I divide both sides by 5. So K is 6. So that means my equation is really S equals 6R divided by T. And so now in dark green, they've given us some information. They want us to figure out a missing value. They said, okay, for what value of T, so T is going to be missing, will S equal 3, so let's plug in 3 for S, when R is 4, so let's plug in R is 4, and then we have a T here. And again, I'm going to use cross multiplication. Since I have a fraction on one side, I'll make the 3 a fraction by sticking it over 1, and I'll cross multiply. 3 times T is 3T. And then 6 times 4 is actually 24, so 1 times 24 is 24. So now if I divide both sides by 3 to get the T by itself, to solve for T, I get T equal 8. So when T is 8, S is 3 and R is 4. Okay. I went ahead and color-coded this one as well just because it's easier to refer to the colors. Up in black, we see the information that we need to use to write the equation. Z varies jointly, okay? That means I'm going to write Z equal. I'm going to have some constant there. I don't know what it is. I got to find it. Varies jointly as U and V just means I'm going to put the U and V on the top. And then inversely as W means the W is going to go on the bottom, okay? So that's what the black information is telling me to write, okay? Now, if I go to the blue information, they're giving me some numbers to plug into this equation so that I can solve for this missing K here that I need to know to have my exact equation, my particular equation. Z is 0.8 when, let's see, let me try to make that where we can read it a little better. U is 8 and V is 6 and W is 5, okay? All right, if I want to solve for K, let me simplify some things first. 8 times 6 is 48. This is a fraction on the right side. Let me make a fraction on the left side so we can cross multiply. 1 times 48K is 48K. And 0.8 times 5 is going to be 4. Yes, 4. Just checking my math as we go. All right, to solve for k, we could divide both sides by 48, and that would mean k is equal 4 over 48, which reduces to 1 over 12. So what is my equation? Now, when I plug that 1 over 12 in, what happens is the 1 stays on top with the u and the v. So if I'm going to write my equation, I'll have 1 uv. I'm not going to write the 1. And then the 12 is going to move to the bottom, and then the w is already on the bottom. So this is my equation. I could have, I could have put it all on the top, but really that's what happens is the 1 goes in the numerator and the 12 goes in the denominator. So now that I have that, it's time to plug in this other stuff that I've written in green here so that we can actually find z. So we're solving for z. U is 3, v is 10, and then I've got a 12 on the bottom, and w is 5. So that's 30 over 60, which is just a half. So what is z? Z is a half. They write it as a decimal. They would write 0.5. Let's see. And they do. They write 0.5 in the answer key, so I'll go ahead and put that there and circle it. Either way is fine.